Welcome everyone, Starflag Media,
What's up? What's up?
the Not So Drunken Idiots podcast.
That's right, man. The name's so good, you just got to say it twice
That's right.
because we're not so
We're not wasted like we usually are. Sometimes we get so wasted we record 3-hour podcasts and then we can't even post them because the audio didn't work.
Yeah,
And then we have to redo it the next day. So
sometimes we just get too inebriated to the point where we just babble.
Sometimes we talk about wrestling for 45 minutes and don't realize what's going on. Welcome everyone. My name is Anthony. You can find me on PC Master Race as UWA Avenger or on basically all the consoles,
On the platforms.
Yeah, all the platforms. And this is my good friend Chris.
Yeah, man. Talents 860. I'm here. It is what it is.
All right. So, again, as we have been for the last 3 or 4 weeks now, the bigger news pretty much kind of died down after the first quarter of earnings and everything got sent out. So we're going to be doing a little bit of just talking a little bit about what we've been playing. And then at the end of the podcast, we're going to do our top 5 fighting games of all time, our personal top 5 fighting games of all time. So, and we'll give each other like an honorable mention for a fighting game if you want to throw that in there. So, what we've been playing is a lot of Helldivers 2.
Yeah, man, it's such a great game. They recently released a new war bond, which is like their battle pass.
Mm-hmm.
It does cost money. I believe it's about the equivalent of $10, or it is $10 to get on. But you can actually earn the credits through just playing the game, and you can earn the credits that you could use for real money and buy it for free if you wanted to grind for it.
Right. I don't know much about paying for those types of things because the game is I'm still pretty low level. It's still pretty chaotic for me.
Yep.
So I do see that it does make a difference depending on what guns you have. The guns really do help. I have happened to pick up better weapons that other people have dropped after they get massacred.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, okay, I can see how this gun is way better than like the stock machine guns or whatever you come down with.
I learned that well, it's a fact that once you hit level 20, everything is like unlockable for you.
Yeah.
So that
I'm almost there.
Yeah, that makes it better. And some of the tried and true is like the breaker shotgun.
Right.
There's also a submachine gun that I didn't think would be good, but it's pretty good.
Puts in work.
You get a 50-round clip and tear through the bugs. You good to go.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. I'm learning the difference too between the armors. So, when I was playing with you guys the first few times, I was just putting on the cool looking armor because it looked cool, and I was getting slaughtered, and then I couldn't keep up with the team, and I was like, oh, it's heavy. Yeah, and then you go through and you're like, well, sometimes having the heaviest armor isn't the greatest thing. Maybe you take less hits with the weaker armor, but you can move around way better and you survive longer.
Yeah.
Well, I do anyway. I don't know, but I'm sure other people out there have, prefer the heavier armor. But for me, personally, the medium armor is perfect.
Yeah, that's essentially about almost like all of them.
Yeah, almost all of them. I tried the light armor, but I die way too fast with that with, just a couple of hits, even on the easier modes. So yeah, the medium armor is perfect. You can run, keep up with everybody. It's versatile enough. I like the game. It's really cool, man. It's probably gonna keep our attention going for like the next 6 or 7 months. I think on.
Yeah, I think they're doing a good thing.
Sony definitely needed this hit because they really didn't have anything else in the pipeline, and this just kind of came out of nowhere and took over all social media. If you really want to think about it.
Yeah, they got a hit on their hands, and I like what they're doing with the game. They didn't drop a roadmap that just kind of says, hey, this is the outline, this is what's coming. They just hit Twitter and said, hey, new war bond out now.
Yeah.
So it's like, good things just keep coming. As gamers, we like surprises when it come to DLC and new content and stuff like that. Which is, if you look at all these live service games today, I think the ones that do it the best or have been around for a while is, you got your Fortnite, your GTA Online, and
Overwatch.
Yeah, your Overwatch, and I think so far so good. So I'm looking forward to see what they have.
Yeah, you get one a year, I think. One breakout live service game a year that sticks around. Everything else kind of just dies.
Yep.
I will say this. I think Sony is taking notice of Arrowhead Studios, and probably Helldivers 3 is going to have a way bigger budget. I don't think they're going to stick to being a AA studio with last generation graphics engine for the next one.
Yeah, I
think they're gonna get access to the big boy stuff next time.
The game.
Hopefully they don't have to change their formula because the company now wants them to. Because now that you're popular, we want you to do it this way.
Nah, Sony's pretty good with giving their game developers freedom to
make
create
games.
So I got no.
Yeah, hopefully it stays.
Got no qualms with that.
It'd be interesting, man. They got a big hit. Good for them. Another game that I've been playing is because Cyclone kind of edged me towards it.
Oh, it's edging you.
That's right. Don't pause. And it was WWE2k24. So purchased that game, got it on Steam, and we've been kind of crapping on wrestling games for like the last decade or so, and rightfully so for the most part. And then you go online and you see how the fans react to a yearly iteration of these games.
Yep.
It's generally received negatively or mediocre, and this year they really eyed it like a nostalgia show.
Okay.
So to try to get the older gamers, I'm guessing, back, and the older wrestling fans back. And so Cyclone got it, and he started talking about like the what they call the showcase mode, which is like you go through each WrestleMania, and it is, maybe it's because I haven't bought a WWE game in, we're gonna go more than 8 years, I think.
Wow.
More than that.
I mean, I'm
more than that. I think the last one was I skipped the entire PS4 generation of wrestling games.
Yeah, so my last wrestling game I bought was on a Nintendo 64.
Yeah, so I bought like SmackDown vs. Raw 2007 with ECW, I think, was the last one.
So how is it?
It's really, really good. There's going to be a full review of the game. I'm going to do that later on this week on the channel. So check that out. But I'm not going to give it a final score at this time, but I'm going to say the game is amazing. What really brought me in personally is I like the create a wrestler mode.
Yep.
And it's something that AEW's game didn't really capitalize on. They had their, Fight Forever is a great game and all because they're going to continuously update that game. It's one game per generation. Which is, fantastic, right? Because you don't have to buy a yearly version of the game, and you just, next year it's going to be 2 or 3 DLC packs, and you can continue to add to the roster, and you never lose the old wrestlers who leave. But if you have an extensive create a wrestler, you don't need that, because you can just add whoever you want, and they got community creations. So with the community creations, you can upload your own pictures and make whoever you want. So we got us in the game. So
yeah, I'm excited to see what you create, and I will, if I can make one request, give me some good music for the entrance.
I think I have to pick from, because of copyrights, I have to pick from their lists. So it'll be
okay.
I'll probably give you something like Michelle McCool's song or something.
I don't know who that is.
As the Undertaker's wife.
I don't know who that is.
I don't know. I'm not gonna give her music.
I don't even know. Yeah.
I don't know who. Yeah, it'll be probably some generic music so that it doesn't tie to like a specific wrestler. But we'll make the I'll see what happens, and if they're completely done.
Give me Jericho's music.
Jericho's not in the game. He's in AEW.
So that music won't be
correct.
Break the Walls Down.
It's not in there.
Wow. Okay. All right.
Yeah, WWE's petty.
What about DX music? Give me that.
If it's in there, I think it might be. Yeah, I think DX music might be in there. So yeah, we'll figure it out. Anyway, yeah, so WWE 2k24, fantastic. It's got a lot of different modes. GM mode is really cool. Create your own. Anyways, full review coming to the channel later this week. That's what I've been playing a lot of.
I had the review of you and Cyclone with that.
I'll put Cyclone in there. Yeah, not a problem. And we're going to move into our next subject here. So last time that we did a little top 5 list, I really enjoyed it. So we did what?
Yeah, it's cool to
favorite games of all time.
Yeah, it's cool to reminisce and put on the rose-tinted goggles and just kind of describe and explain what gaming moments that really help define you as a gamer today.
For sure.
So with that being said, top 5 fighting games. I think that's always fighting games. I mean, I always like fighting games. I love fighting games, and my love for fighting games start with Street Fighter 2, which I could say is probably a lot of people's first love.
Oh yeah,
or their first their introduction.
For sure.
But
specifically Street Fighter 2.
So for me, this is no particular order. There's a lot of versions of Street Fighter 2. So I'm gonna say, man, my favorite, one of my favorite games, fighting games of all time, is Street Fighter 2, the one that came out on the Panasonic 3DO.
Super Street Fighter 2.
Super Street Fighter 2, the one that when they added Akuma. Akuma was there. They added the specials. Specials were, it was brand new, and if you finish someone with a special, the screen would light up yellow and red.
Just like my real life when somebody finishes me.
What was that?
Huh?
Wow. So yeah,
I light up yellow and red too.
Yeah, so Super Street Fighter 2 on the
fantastic
on
game.
The Panasonic 3DO.
A rare win for Panasonic too, by the way, at those days when you were, Genesis and Panasonic was in a deep 4th place behind TurboGrafx.
Yeah, that game was just, to me, it was just excellent, man. It was my
fantastic,
my love, man. Down forward punch, and trying to finish somebody with a special, and then you end up losing because you're trying to get that special off, and
because you want to win with the special.
Yeah,
it was different. It was different. And you couldn't do that on the other consoles.
No,
at that time, it was just the best.
No
version.
matter how hard I tried, because someone told me that
you could unlock. Yeah. The days before the internet. Good times.
I was getting trolled. But I'm sorry. What's your number 5, man? Or number 1?
So yeah, my number 5 is probably not on anybody's top 5 fighting games because it's not probably one of the greatest fighters ever, and it is definitely just a Street Fighter clone. But it is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighters, and it's hard to pick a specific console because it came out on 3 systems. There's the NES version, which is completely different.
They were all different from each other, right?
They were all different from each other. The SNES version and the Genesis version had characters that the other ones didn't have. One had April, and then the other one had another Japanese character named Shai or Kai. Can't remember right now. But yeah, she was like from the comic books, I believe.
Okay.
They put her in there. And but even though it was just a Street Fighter clone, there was probably, this is right before Power Rangers really broke out. There was probably not a bigger property on the planet besides the Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
So to have, a fighting game where you can pick, the Turtles versus Shredder, and then the graphics looked really cool at the time. And, you guys are going to be seeing gameplay video of this either up here or, right here.
I always like the cover for the game. The box that came in with
the Super Nintendo box.
With the
with the big face.
Yeah, just the big face.
Really cool, man. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighters. A lot of memories playing that, and if you knew how to play Street Fighter and you knew how to pull off those moves, you could pick up any of the characters, and you were like, oh, so forward, down, punch, and I'm gonna do something cool.
Yeah,
good game. That's my number 5.
All right, so the next one for me is, I'm gonna have to give it this Mortal Kombat 2. For me, my first time playing Mortal Kombat, I played the first one and everything, But Mortal Kombat 2, which was special to me because I pulled off my first fatality with Scorpion. And Mortal Kombat 2 at that time, man, it was to me, it was just epic, man. Just hitting somebody with an uppercut just felt so satisfying. The ad libs such as that, that was always dope. That was cool. I really wanted to be good with Sub-Zero. I was okay, but I learned that my character was Scorpion. I was able to master his timing, and like I mentioned before, I got my first fatality, so I've been rocking with Scorpion ever since.
I loved Raiden in that game. It was one of my favorite fighting games as well. Definitely cool. I was watching Ed Boon because our phones spy on us, and we were talking about Mortal Kombat the other day, and as soon as you were out of here, I go on YouTube and there's an Ed Boon interview about how Mortal Kombat was supposed to be called Jean-Claude Van Damme, the video game.
I remember that.
And then they were like, well, he had signed some deal with Sega. They couldn't make it, and then that game ended up falling through anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's like, oh, Kano's face was because Terminator 2 had just come out, so they were like, let's get a guy with a metal face that the skin's peeling off. And Big Trouble in Little China was the guy with the Raiden hat and had electrical powers, and they were like, well, we need that guy in the game. So they were just lifting and copying little things from everywhere, and the only reason that Scorpion exists
palette swap
is a palette swap because they ran out of memory in the game. Yeah. And they needed to have another character, and they were like, "Well, let's just make
Reptile
one.
too." Was it Reptile? Was in the first one?
That was but
he was
it was like a secret character. But yeah, great choice, man. My number 4 is a derivative of your first pick, but it's the latest version. It's Ultra Street Fighter 2, and that one is on the Nintendo Switch.
Okay.
Ultra Street Fighter 2. Before this, it would have been Super Street Fighter 2 on an SNES for me. But when Ultra came out, it superseded that as my favorite version of the Street Fighter 2 games because it's got everything that the other ones have, all the extended characters. They added Violent Ken is in this one, and we've got Evil Ryu, and they've got Akuma, and it's just... And it's got the HD remix graphics, so it's got the new graphics, or you could switch back in the game to the old pixel art. It's the ultimate version. It's the ultra version of what else can you say that hasn't been already said?
Yeah,
it's one of my favorite games.
Yeah, it's a classic, and it's probably everyone's introduction to fighting games, whether you was on Sega or Super Nintendo.
Yeah, you had the TurboGrafx version. Everybody had a version of Street Fighter 2. There was Game Boy version.
It was in an arcade, so it was definitely everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
The next one for me is I'm gonna say Super Smash Bros. Melee. I love the original Smash. I love all the Smash games that came out. Mm-hmm. But for me, as a Luigi fan and a Luigi main, I'm gonna go with Melee because they introduced wave dashing. When it comes to Smash Brothers, I'm valid on playing with weapons, playing without weapons. But back in my day of playing on Melee, weapons was always toggled on. So I learned how to be great at wave dashing, catching the home run bat in the air and throwing it back.
Yeah, you're really good at
but
just grabbing weapons in general. You're really quick with that. So we turned that shit off. Fuck that.
Yeah, because with Smash Brothers, I use the weapons, but I don't really use them. I just like having something to throw unexpectedly to catch someone off. Are you trying to recover? Yeah, well, dodge this. So as a Luigi main, he had his Luigi Cyclone, which was like his down B. Right. And at that time, if you do your down B while you're like on the ground, it allows Luigi to like spin up. Mm-hmm. So it would effectively give him like a third jump. Now, Luigi's jumps were never, he never had much horizontal climb. I mean, he's always a good jumper, but you could be at the bottom of the stage, and if you got that down B charged up, you could just down B, jump, uppercut, reach the stage and you back there. So, in my opinion, Luigi progressively got worse since then. So that's why I'm gonna say Melee is my top.
And still, many years later, debatably the favorite Smash Bros out of all of them in tournaments. People still go back to Melee. I know that the latest one is
it's good too.
Yeah, the latest one is now the one that people play the most.
Yeah.
That, and before that, the Wii U version was excellent. Brawl, if it didn't have tripping, probably would have been the best one ever. But
they were all good, except for the tripping, but they were all great. Yeah. All great.
Yeah, and
Sakurai is his name, right?
Yeah. And I mean, fantastic choice, man. Who can't, Melee, one of the best. So now is for number 3. My number 3 favorite fighting game of all time is WWF No Mercy, Nintendo 64. This was in my list. It shouldn't really surprise anybody too much last week or last time as one of my favorite games of all time. Even though most people probably don't think about wrestling games as fighting games, they absolutely 1000% are. It's you versus your opponent, and you either gotta knock them out, pin them, or submit them, depending on whatever mode you pick. WWF No Mercy, the pinnacle of wrestling games to this date, and that is my number 3 choice.
All right, so my next one is I gotta bring it back to Street Fighter. Well, really, it's not. I'm gonna bring it to Capcom. I believe it was Capcom versus SNK. I purchased this game. It was my first game. It was my first Street Fighter Capcom game that I bought with my own money on the original Xbox.
This is SNK versus Capcom.
Yeah, SNK versus Capcom. I love that game. They introduced Violent Ken. Ken was always, my favorite character. He was my favorite character because, I want to say maybe since they kind of, Ken was a palette swap of Ryu back in Street Fighter 2.
Yeah.
But I want to say since, maybe Marvel vs. Capcom, that's when they kind of diverged. And
Street Fighter 3.
Street Fighter 3 is when they kind of separated.
The Alpha series started kind of giving Ken his own flair.
Yeah.
Made him a little bit faster.
Yeah.
Made Ryu a little bit tougher.
Yeah,
and
stronger hit.
Stronger. Alphas were the first one that really tweaked him a little bit.
Yeah.
But by the time they got to SNK versus Capcom Chaos.
Yeah. It was,
and then Violent Ken was just a whole nother animal.
Yeah, the Violent Ken.
He's a whole nother animal.
They gave him like this sick kicking special, and he would just kick the shit out of you, and it was it was great. I loved it, and as a Ken main, that game was it. It was it for me. And
the art style was so different because SNK.
Yeah, SNK made it. The art style was different, and then I like King, man. King is a good character, man.
Yeah,
everybody think King's a dude until you get that winning animation and the blouse pops out, and you're like, oh, that bitch got titties. King's a girl. So
there's many Kings, by the way, guys. Every King is different.
Oh yeah. But no, we're talking about specific. I'm talking about the
one
King from
Chaos. In that game,
King of Fighters. Yeah, that King.
Yeah. Anyway, great. SNK versus Capcom. You can't go wrong, and you picked a great one. The next one on my list for number, we're at 2. I'm going to say is Soul Calibur 2 on the GameCube. Soul Calibur 2, specifically the GameCube version. PlayStation 2 had Heihachi, Xbox had Spawn, and Nintendo, in a great show of faith to Namco, let them have Link from The Legend of Zelda. And if you used to have, an Xbox or a PlayStation, you weren't going to go wrong in picking up the game. But this was also how we talked about one of those rare wins for Panasonic back in the day. This was a rare win for the GameCube back in the day when PlayStation 2 and Xbox were out, because they had the superior version of the game. It actually outsold the PlayStation 2 version and the Xbox version, even though it was on a console that had like 20-something million sold. And that version was like the one to have.
Because, I mean, playing those soul games, those soul fighting games, having Link as a character is like
and he fit right in.
Yeah, and this is coming off, Zelda 64, Ocarina of Time, and it's like it makes sense.
This was also when they first showed off the GameCube, and they showed off the animations of Link fighting Ganon, and then later they came out with the Wind Waker, which was a very big departure on what Link looked like. But this used the character model that people wanted in that video game. So here's Link as what they could see what the GameCube could pull off graphically. And at that time, it was such a clean looking game. And the controller was perfect for it. So it was like a real kick in the ass when the next version, Soul Calibur 3, was a console exclusive for Sony. Because they were like, we're not going to have that happen again. We're not going to lose to Nintendo on a fighting game. So they secured the rights for 3, and by the way, it hasn't been the same since. But yeah, it's my favorite, my second favorite fighting game.
Yeah, so
you got an honorable mention?
Yeah, honorable mention. I wanted to piggyback off Soul Calibur for my honorable mention, but I'm not going to do that. It would be disingenuous to myself. My honorable mention is a game that no one likes. But I spent so much time playing this game, and it's so awful. So I'm gonna give it to Shaq Fu.
Oh my God!
Shaq
I'm so sorry.
On the Sega, there was times where rainy days. It's a Sunday, nothing on TV. What you gonna do? And I remember me and my cousin, we would just play Shaq Fu, because I was at his house, and he had Sonic 1, and a time where Sonic 2 was out, but he had Shaq Fu. So just hours of playing an awful game, but you learn the mechanics, and that probably could have been another Rob Van Dam / MK clone, just the bad version of it. But we put in so many hours, and we used to talk trash to hype the game up. We had a lot of fun.
Well, I mean, anytime you're playing against somebody else, especially when you're a kid, the competition's always fun.
Yeah, and man, Shaq, if you're listening, I know you got a lot of jokes on TNT. I know you like to diversify your portfolio, and you do all types of investing and restaurants and all that stuff. Make another Shaq Fu, man. I think it's time.
Already out. You can purchase it now. There is a Shaq Fu sequel.
Oh, well,
go get it right now, since you love
how
it so
many
much.
stars do I have?
It's just like you remember the first one, except it's not. So yeah, if you really want it that bad, go pick up Shaq Fu sequel. I have it on the Switch.
Wow, you do?
I do.
Yeah, man, Shaq
You can
Fu.
re-download it in a moment after the podcast if you want to try it out and see why I don't play it. I've never talked about it. So Shaq Fu, what a great honorable mention. Not what I would have suspected for an honorable mention. I guess my honorable mention, and this is probably going to be a little bit different too. I'm also going to go back to a sports game, and it's going to be Fight Night Round 2. Specifically the Xbox 360 version.
Fight Night Round 3 was, oh man, I'm sorry. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, Fight Night Round 2. Round 3 was just more of the same for me, but Round 2 was the first time that we got that graphical spectacle. Like, I can show off my, at that time, gigantic 42-inch Toshiba flat screen.
42.
But it cost me $1,500 back then, and $1,500, 15 years ago,
it's still like $1,500 now.
It's still $1,500 now, but imagine 15 years ago, it's like $3,000 today.
Mm-hmm.
So I bought this gigantic TV that people used to come and squint at because it was so bright, and then I was like, no, check out this game. And so I would pop in the 360. So I had an HD DVD player to show off the HD graphics of what Blu-ray was going to be. Back then it was still the fight between the formats, but seeing the face morphing and the spit drool come out of the guy's mouth when you punched him in the face in slow motion, Nothing looked like that. And then I remember my cousins, they bought for some reason that version, and they had the original Xbox version. They had both versions.
Yeah.
And so for some odd reason. And so when you went back and you played like the Xbox version, it was like it had all the game mechanics, but none of the graphics. And it was like it took away from everything that was the Fight Night on the 360. But yeah, that's my honorable mention. What a great freaking boxing game. My favorite boxing game of all time.
Yeah. Shout out to the Fight Night series. I believe they just brought it back, or they're launching a new revamp, a reboot Fight Night. If it hasn't dropped already, it should be dropping soon.
It'd be cool. You know, Jake Paul's gonna be in it.
Wow, that's cool.
I'm guessing. I bet.
So yeah, my number one fighting game of all time, I'm gonna give it to Street Fighter 4. Street Fighter 4 is
it's a generation too.
Yeah, it came out. I had it on the 360, but that's when they kind of like switched up how they wanted to play, how they wanted the game to look. The art style was different. It was
3D looking, but still 2D fighting.
That was, I believe, it was another game that did it first before them. It was probably another SNK game or King of Fighters game, but they kind of took what they did and they kind of like made it their own.
Yeah.
And with Street Fighter 4, they set the foundation for the Street Fighter games that's out now. Street Fighter 5, Street Fighter 6, which I really do love. I really love Street Fighter 6. They're going to be dropping Akuma on that soon. But if for someone who hasn't played Street Fighter 5 or Street Fighter 6 and you really loved Street Fighter 4 and all those different versions of that they drop, you could pick up and play Street Fighter 6 easily. But just for the simple fact that the new fundamentals of these modern Street Fighter games come from Street Fighter 4, I got to get at is my all-time favorite.
We played a lot of that too. It's a fantastic game.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong with Street Fighter, man. Street Fighter, if you pick up any Street Fighter game, you're almost guaranteed that you're going to get a quality product. Street Fighter 5 was rough on launch, but everything else, every other game was just phenomenal. There hasn't been a real bad one yet. That's bullshit. That's not true.
I didn't really like Street Fighter 3.
I love those, but the poorest Street Fighter one was the Street Fighter movie, the game.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
Anyway, but that's for another episode when we do the worst games, our top 5 worst games of all time.
Shaq Fu, we coming for you, nigga.
And then my number one favorite fighting game of all time is Marvel vs. Capcom 2, New Age of Heroes. I'm gonna take you for a ride. Anyway, for the Sega Dreamcast, it was beautiful 2D pixel art with full rendered polygon graphics in the backgrounds. The Dreamcast, as we all know, at the time when PlayStation and N64 were still in its full swing, the Dreamcast comes out, and it was like just a graphical powerhouse in comparison to those consoles.
Yeah.
Even though it was the beginning of PlayStation 2, GameCube, Xbox era, there was still nothing else like it.
There was,
and then Marvel vs. Capcom, the original, had been out, and Street Fighter vs. X-Men on like the Saturn and PlayStation. But Marvel vs. Capcom 2 had 56 playable characters.
Wow. I never forget the screen. The whole screen was just full of characters.
Just once you unlocked everybody, it was just massive. And then every character had their own special and tag team.
Yep.
And it was a dream. It was like you could put your favorite dream matches together. You want to have a team where Magneto and Akuma are on the same team.
Yep.
You can make that happen, and you could also have them fight each other and settle who was better. And you had characters like Cyclops, which was basically Ryu and Ken, but now we've got hurricane kicks and laser beams.
Yeah.
Phenomenal
it was
game.
great.
Yeah, my favorite. I poured hundreds and hundreds of hours into that, and I bought and sold my Dreamcast 3 or 4 times, and every time I buy and sell the Dreamcast,
3 or 4 times. Damn, that's how invested
over the
you were.
years. Over the years.
Okay.
Over the years. Now, at that time, I had my original Dreamcast for like a decade, and then when I sold my collection, since then I bought and then resold my Dreamcast a few times. And every time, the first game I buy with it,
Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
Marvel vs. Capcom 2 has to be on the list. And that was good, man. I like our games. I think that
if we talking fighting games, it's going to be heavy on Street Fighter. Period.
Yeah, no, and even then, it was interesting. Your Shaq Fu pick really threw me off. That one I wasn't expecting. I thought my Tournament Fighters pick was going to be the worst game on the list. I was wrong. But it wasn't. We weren't talking about the best of the best, or this is our personal list.
Yeah.
So if you guys have your personal lists, or a game that you guys like, or if you guys want to crap on one of the games or picks that
you gotta remember, I was probably 6 or 7, and don't forget it's a Sunday, and we didn't have Cartoon.
You already gave your excuse.
We didn't have Cartoon Network then.
You like Shaq Fu, and you wanted
it was just a rainy day on a Sunday with no cartoons. What you gonna do? You gonna play Sonic 1?
Yes.
Nah, you can't even turn Supersonic there. So I played Shaq Fu. It is what it is. And I'm not gonna deny that I ain't playing. We put mad hours into it. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's your game. So Shaq Fu fans, leave your comments below. Let us know what games you have in your top 5. Like, share, subscribe. It really helps out. We're still trying to get to that 100 subscribers by the end of the year, and we're kind of stuck, so we need your help.
Yes, please. We'll pay you.
No, we won't. He will. He'll baller. So, I mean, this is all, just plain.
I got a wallet full of Colombian pesos.
We'll pay you in pesos. That I can do. And in fact, I'll pay you in bolivars.
Even better.
Yeah, millionaires there. So thanks everybody for joining us this week, and look out for the WWE2k24 review later this week.
I want to hear that.
And we're here, Star Flag Media. Take it easy, guys.